Greetings and welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. Today on Conversation with Tony Mobley, we are on YouTube and Conversations with Tony Mobley website. On Conversations with Tony Mobley today, I am talking to Mr. Kenn Jordan, CEO of Elms Park Consultants, and Miss Liberty White, Executive Director, AI Consultant, host, and video marketeer, leading a talented team of content creators passionate about diverse programming and virtual events. Techstars founded Catalyst. And so this is episode 104 episode of Conversation with Tony Mobley. Thanks to everyone for being a part of this new journey powered by Mimo Live. We also want to thank everyone who was a part of the old infrastructure. Thank you all so much for all of your hard work. Conversations with Tony Mobley can be seen on conversationwithtonymobley.com, and we want to let you know that we have an exciting way for you to participate in this conversation. You can register by going to the interactive chat called Mukana, courtesy of Alex Lindsay and 090. For Mukana, you will have the opportunity to vote questions up and down. That's right, you can make sure that they get asked during this hour. On the website, go to conversationwithtonymobley.com. And without any further ado, we're going to get into this exciting conversation about AI. And we're going to start with the very first question. Before we talk about AI, we're going to talk to Liberty and Kenn about who they are. And so let's get started. Hello, Kenn. Hello, Liberty. Welcome.
Hi,
Good
Tony.
evening. Good evening.
All right, so we're going to get right down to it because we only have an hour and we know that there is so much to talk about regarding AI. And so before we do that, we want Liberty, just give us a brief synopsis of who you are, and then we'll go to Kenn.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Tony, for having me on this new phase of Conversations with Tony Mobley. And I'm Liberty White, founder of Chosen Media and partner at Content GA, where we do all things content. And I'm excited to be here tonight because just being a part of the evolution of media overall. So from my radio days to video to online, video online, and then ultimately now where we're seeing the convergence of how you can create content using artificial intelligence, whether that be from your audio, from your images. We're seeing so much happening with Adobe and Adobe Firefly and all the things. So I'm excited about unpacking this conversation tonight to share some of the things that we're doing, what Kenn is working on, and of course taking questions from the community and just unpacking all of this great this space that we're now, this emerging space that's here. It's not coming, it's here, and what we can do next with it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Liberty, so much. Kenn Jordan from the UK.
Hi, Tony.
Hello, sir.
Hi. What we do here is we make, I suppose the easier way to put it is that we make people's websites more successful. Most people have a website. Most of them actually don't convert or get relevant traffic. And really, in a nutshell, what we do is to help to make their websites reach the audience that they want to and to convert. And that's either by revamping it or rebuilding it. But that's really, in a nutshell, kind of what we do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And so our next question is, has your family shaped who you are in wanting to learn new things? And we're going to go with Kenn first this time.
Um, suppose so in a way, in terms of being interested in new technology. Um, my father, who's passed now, he was always interested, always had gadgets from photography to video, stuff like that. So my interest in tech and was from a very early age. He was always keen on the latest technology. So I suppose that part kind of rubbed off on me.
Miss White.
I would say I have a similar background. My parents are both from Jamaica, and I think just that idea of trying something and doing new things to see what works, whether that be like life wise, but then also just from a professional career wise. It's interesting because in the last couple of years I've just heard from my mom all these things that she wanted to do or tried to do, and she's always trying new things. So I very much so think that I got a lot of that curiosity from her, which is something that I try to impart into my daughter. And then also just my dad, his tenacity to make it and to make something out of nothing has definitely helped to just define how I see the world and how I hope others can see the world through what I do, like things, anything is possible.
Thank you both so much. And we want to take this time to invite the community to submit their questions to Conversation with Tony Mobley. And we're only here for an hour, so you have a short period of time to submit your questions. All right. So the next question is, how have you educated yourselves regarding AI? And we're going to go with Liberty first this time.
It is like just dive head in first. And what I mean by that is, of course, there's YouTube University, so constantly checking out videos, seeing, trying new things. When I hear new things, it's like getting my hands on it to just really test and see how to make that work for me, getting my team. Like I've implemented, listen, every week there's a certain number of hours that we're dedicating to actually doing research, reading white papers. Online TikTok is actually a really good place where people are constantly sharing whatever the latest tools are. It can be overwhelming as well. So, just a side note there. But because it's our responsibility to know what's happening and to be able to consult and to share how clients can use some of these tools and the tools that they need to not really be concerned with, because there's just so much that's out there and we're still really at the beginning side of it as it relates to from a consumer or even a B2B side of things when it comes to AI. So to say that was a long way to say just getting my hands in and trying and testing. And a perfect example, and we might discuss that a little bit later, is a couple months ago we did 30 days of having ChatGPT be a social media manager, and that was literally prompting and saying anything. It was only what ChatGPT told us to do. And by doing that every single day, so every day we were writing via ChatGPT, writing scripts and then executing and then pivoting and putting the data in. Like that was a 30-day experiment where we were doing it nonstop. So when you do something consistently, I believe the numbers, like if you do something for 21 days and it eventually becomes a habit, by immersing ourselves in that and just the strategies and the thought process, it has just like unpacked and opened a whole new world for us.
Very cool. Thank you. Mr. Jordan.
Well, we've been oh, AI or machine learning's been transformational for us. We have to keep on top of it because it's totally changed the way we work. Um, we, as I said, we use it all the time. We certain tasks that we would used to take hours, days, or weeks can now be done in minutes or seconds because of ChatGPT. Search engine optimization is an example. Um, we're now developed it in a way that we make it that our clients can do it. We've crafted prompts we're using ChatGPT where we can tell them how to optimize the prompts so that we can, the results we're seeing are really some quite amazing. And if we have time, I want to show one of the examples I did actually with conversations with Tony Mobley on the last time that I was on. I kind of did made a landing page using ChatGPT for pulling out keywords, writing a transcript for that page based on pulling the data from the video, just to see how quickly we can get that page ranking highly in Google. Certain stuff that we can do within 3-4 hours, have it ranking on the first page of Google. So yeah, it's what I really love about it. It's what I really love about the work I do anyway. It's always, things are always changing. With AI, it's changing every minute. It's always something new. What I had planned to do as an example a week ago has totally changed because of the advancements with
Wow,
AI.
that's amazing, Ken.
Yeah.
And if this is an okay time, please go ahead and share what you wanted to share about conversation with Tony Mobley.
Yeah, sure. Let me switch to the website for a second. If you probably need to put me on a full screen. So this is your website. And as you see, we're streaming live here. What I did was made a landing page for the conversation that we had. And what I wanted to do was this page was built using ChatGPT. We use a prompt we call crafting. Let me just go to that. Where is it? Yeah. This crafting prompt, which I'm happy to share with others. And what a craft prompt is, it's context, action, format, context, role, action, format, and target. So context in this case, the best way to get best results from these large language models like ChatGPT is to define, is to give it a role. In this case, it's context, because it's searching the whole of the web, and not everything on the web is correct or good. So you really want it to be, you want to be specific and define who it is. So in this case, I'm looking to create a top ranking Google search SEO rich WordPress page and then I put in these are variables, the client, which in this case would be you, Tony, and the website, which is your website. And based on the transcript of this YouTube video, so then I put in the link to the video that I want it to transcribe, and then a description of that. So I do it in this way so that I can, it makes it easy to redo the prompt with a different video, different description, or a different client, different website. And its role is as I want it to act as an SEO expert with more than 20 years experience in crafting high ranking and high performing website landing pages. And then the action that I want to take is to create a long form article based on the video transcript linked above. Please also create a table summarizing the information in the article, and please add FAQ with 7 questions. What we found, because this is the new parts that we add and constantly refining. If you're making a landing page or a web landing page, then having a table up at the top summarizing what its content is, and then adding FAQs at the bottom helps to rank it higher. Obviously, these things change and constantly are changing, and so we're constantly adjusting. But this this way of building a landing page, we find works really well in getting us highly ranked. The format, so we getting it to, so saving us rather than it doing just plain text, we want it to write it in markdown language. Start with the title of the article, and each article should start with an H2 header. Don't give each article a conclusion, because the AI likes to kind of give a conclusion after it's given an answer. We don't want that, because we just want clean text that we can cut and paste in. And then, but instead, write one overall article with each new article being an H2. When writing the questions, think about the outline for the article and try to make the outline make sense for one long form article. Also, if listed, try to include any internal links. So internal linking is also a good thing to have on your blog page. Might not be necessary for each, because some didn't work in this case, because I was writing a piece. And then, yeah, at least one else. And then you put in the target audience. This also is key. This is really key, where you define who it is that you're targeting for this piece, because then it would write it in that context. So I put all that in. I've already created this. This is the page. So from that prompt, this is the page that it created. And actually, you can actually get it to actually even write the draft to your WordPress website. Even so, not even having to cut and paste from it, you can using one of the plugins that it has, you can even get it to write directly to your website. So anyway, this is the page that it created, and what I want to see is, so this line here, let's see how highly this ranks in Google. This would be a good test. Let's see. So let's have a look. There you are on the first page. Now I would optimize this more, because I did this a couple of days ago. But anyway, so exploring the intersection of web design and AI. So that's so that prompt, that phrase is already ranking quite highly on within Google search. If I optimize it a bit more, you should rank a bit higher. But that's the kind of
think
work.
that's amazing, Ken. And I'm going to interrupt you, because I understood everything that you were saying, but I want to make sure that our audience who is listening, basically, and you tell me if I'm wrong, basically, you were able to put in a prompt that made it so that Conversation with Tony Mobley ranked extremely high on a Google search. If someone was searching for a Conversation with Tony Mobley, they would see a high ranking Conversation with Tony Mobley on Google. Is that correct?
Well, kind of, partly, really, because really the difference is here. If this was on our conversation that we had, where I talked about websites and AI. So I was being very specific with the keywords that I wanted. Well, I actually got ChatGPT to be very specific and generate the keywords. So the page, the way that it really works for you would be, you've interviewed, 50 odd people, their subject of what they were, any key points or um, key topics that were in those conversations, you make a landing page for them, um, uh, and get ChatGPT. Well, you get ChatGPT to make a landing page based on those key topics, so that when someone's searching for that key topic, then they would find you. So rather than not conversations in Tony Mobley in general, because that's if they're searching for that, then they will come to your website anyway because
Right.
it's in the name. This is for if they're searching for
The keywords that they
any,
are
yes,
talking about.
yeah. So if you interviewed a guest, they were talking, about
AI.
AI, then what we would do would then be to take the transcript of that video, make a landing page with key topics of AI in that people would be searching for. Again, we would use ChatGPT to help find what are the trending topics and see whether we can then, because if you have a video where that was discussed, we want to make a landing page for that so that because you have a YouTube video, that also helps in terms of within the ranking. So we put the YouTube video up front. We use ChatGPT to formulate a blog post or and then we make that into a landing page so that what Google then sees is, because by making it a landing page, it doesn't have any other menus or stuff. So Google sees that as, well, that's like a website to Google search. And if it's talking about just one subject, it ranks it higher because it's a very specific, and it's kind of what we want it to be is a kind of an authority on that specific phrase or keyword. And that's how you get traffic to it. And then the call to action that we have at the bottom would be, that if you're interested in this, then please consider, and in our case, I think I made it a donation. So please consider making a donation so that Tony can continue. But that's how you can use ChatGPT in a way that I can craft this for the client, in this case you, and then give you that prompt. So then you can then go off and do it, and you don't need to employ an SEO expert or something like that to do it. Our prompt will enable anyone in your team to generate landing pages which rank super high in Google to drive traffic to your site. So that's one of the things that we do, but that's one of the big ones that we're focusing on now because we're seeing really good results in getting people ranked.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to say to Liberty, I want to give you a few minutes to prepare to talk about your 30 days of AI. And before Liberty comes back with us for that 30 days of sharing of what she did on those 30 days, I wanted to say to Kenn, thank you so much for creating the donation page. And I just wanted to share with those who are listening. I think that whether or not you choose to donate to Conversation with Tony Mobley or not, it is worth a look to go and see what Kenn has created as far as the donation page. I think it's kind of unique and special. And so I'm kind of proud of what he did as far as creating that. So if you have an opportunity, I'm going to say, go please take a look at it. Whether you donate or not, please take a look at it. I think it is very special. Kenn he is a modest person, but he has more work than he can handle as far as people requesting him to develop websites. And Conversation with Tony Mobley has a first-class website. And now we're going to go back to Liberty. So, Liberty, can you share some of the other details about the 30 days process that you were working on?
I can. And if I could take a moment, because I think what, just to highlight for our community that's watching, what Ken just shared of what he's doing with the website is that, going back to where I said that some people may be intimidated by AI, artificial intelligence, and where to begin and what to do, but Ken really just broke down how you can take the technology to touch and to optimize a portion. Like, he's been able to put all these pieces together to make it work for a final result of the landing page. But you could very well just be prompting for one component, like just the blog, or prompting for one component of the titles, or whatever that thing is that you're trying to figure out. Because you asked a question earlier, is like, how are we immersing ourselves? Like, we're touching all the things, but you don't have to. Like, you can take one aspect and say, you know what, perfect example, like just even with the 30 days, it was like social media. Okay, so we're going to focus on one platform, and that's going to be Instagram, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. So just as a way to make it more palatable, that take one area and just try something with that one area, shut off all the noise for all the thousands of things that people say, oh my goodness, AI can do this. You'll get like FOMO of trying to think, oh, I need to do all these things, when really it's like, get comfortable with one thing. And that being the segue into like even the 30 days. So the idea was, okay, let's take ChatGPT and have ChatGPT, like, will it be a good social media manager? And the first step in that process was taking all of the data. Took about 90 days of data from Instagram. So that is reels, those were posts, those were carousels. And at that point in time, that was also a very manual process. Taking all of that data, got it and put it into Excel, grab the content, put it in Chat GPT, and I believe, if I remember correctly, and I don't remember if I'm able to share screen. If not, I can still just talk through it. But just the prompt saying like, "Hey, Chat GPT, you're going to be my social media manager, and I'll be the human counterpart. Whatever you share and your one goal." And Ken shared that too, is like, what's the goal? Giving context to ChatGPT on what it needs to do. We're giving it instructions. It's like, as they say, we're training it. So I'm telling it, you're going to be the social media manager. I'll be the human counterpart. Here's all the data. Here's explaining, this is my personality. I like to inspire. I do a lot of tutorials, and most of our audience is the XYZ. And that was based off of data. I believe at that point in time, the audience was primarily like 60-80% women, and 20-30% male. And once all that data was compiled, each day we said, okay, ChatGPT, our goal is to get to 100,000 followers. Yes, big audacious goal. And each day ChatGPT like get up and it's like, okay, here were the results from yesterday. What content should we put out today? And that was really I don't even know if I would say like as much an eye-opening experience as much as it was that the benefit of having someone, like having a Chat GPT, is it's an assistant. Like, there were times where it would say things, I was like, that's not my style, that doesn't really sound like me. And that's where you can, there's this term regenerate. So like, go ahead and try again, until it got something that's like, that sounds like me, that sounds like my voice. I think it was around like day 10, day 12, it's like, I don't know if we're gonna hit this 100,000, but we're gonna keep going with this. Again, just the idea of muscle memory. And in that, actually, ChatGPT gave some really great feedback. It's like having another brain. So you're the expert, the subject matter expert, me being the subject matter expert, but then ChatGPT saying, hey, you know what? When you shared this reel, that actually maybe you should consider mixing it up. do more carousels. And then we started doing carousels, and those, we just saw the saves and the shares really like really accelerating there. And so it was great to see how you can, you know, test out technology to see, like, can it really act like me? And the jury's out on that, of like, you know, it got pretty close. But we saw that within, I didn't hit the 100,000, if anyone's wondering. But what I did find in doing the experiment is that it also helped us to recognize that what platforms worked really well. We also delved into a lot of automation. So I don't know how many people are familiar with like YouTube automation, where there are platforms like Pictory or InVideo, where you can literally put a script in, and then it creates a video for you. And being able to do those types of things can help organizations or people who are not necessarily very familiar with editing, but you might be really good at writing, or you just know you've got this content and you want to make it visual, or to improve the, or make a podcast or some audiogram or clip. So it enabled, doing the challenge really enabled us to touch a lot of tools in a very focused and concentrated way. And like I said, us now delving into more YouTube automation and creating branded channels for other organizations. So it was a great experience. And again, I don't know if, can I share screen? I don't recall. I should have asked that earlier. My apologies.
I'm going to ask if they will give you permission to share the screen. And while they are doing that, um, you have permission to do it. But
Okay.
while that's going on, can you share what the ending numbers were, or?
Oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's out there because it was Instagram, so it was 100, so it was like a hundred new followers. Now, mind you, I'm sorry, my apologies, because what I did not put in context of saying, with the social media, we did not buy any ads. It was all organic. So putting that
Okay.
in context, no ads. We didn't boost any posts. We didn't do any branded deals or anything like that. It was all okay, this is organic. And we actually did it at the time when Instagram had changed some of the algorithms, so some things worked in our favor, because then we started scheduling more content, like creating it on a specific day but then scheduling it out for future days. But yeah, it was 100 followers. There's so many things that I would do differently. I would not say anything about not putting ads behind it. But what that does do is help us in when dealing with a client who doesn't necessarily have budget, or maybe has a really small budget, being nimble enough to understand how to use the technology to, okay, you don't need our full production team to help you create this content. We're going to use said tool. And you, much like Ken said, being able to empower people to do some of the work on their own, but then having us as the consultant or the strategist to help them, because we've got the experience behind why something would, could, or does not work. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Very cool. Go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, okay, awesome. So let me pull this out here so then I can just get some context behind. So this, if you can see, this is 30 days. This is 30 days of prompting. As I am scrolling through it all, and literally, like, ChatGPT did everything. Like, this was not only giving us ideas, we needed titles. Um I am really notorious for saying, I'm trying to find a spot where here's again an example of like, hey, here's the results from yesterday, and ChatGPT saying, hey, great, thank you for that. Here's what we can, here's what we can do next, and giving some ideas. I'm notorious for saying, that's not it, try again. Because you don't have to, that's one of the mistakes that people make, is you do not have to take it as is. Really, you should be optimizing and making things sound more like you, and or tweaking it. Here's an example of a script. Let's see what day. I'm not sure which day this one. Oh, okay, so this is early on. So this is day 3, but the prompt here being, and you'll see that I have like different iterations of it because I was like, okay, no, that really didn't sound like my voice. But the prompt being specifically like, write a script, it needs to talk about these number of areas, also give me the time, like giving me the timestamp, so then that way we know, like while I'm up front and I'm recording this on camera, we're already able to pull some visuals. So something like this is a number of pre-production meetings, having a script writer, having then someone who's looking for the assets. So just, we literally touched on all areas. Scripting, Descript was the tool of choice that we used to actually I'd record the videos and doing that nimbly on a mobile device, so on my iPhone, uploading those into Descript, transcribing it, and then ultimately then adding the B-roll and giving it that very TikTok quick, snappy feel in 90 seconds. Another thing that we found that was critically important, again, I shared earlier, Instagram had changed some things with the algorithm. We were producing almost 90-second videos. Now Instagram was like, nah, 3, 5, 10-second videos is where it's at. So we completely changed. So our first like 2 weeks are these 90-second videos, and then we made the switch to shorter, much more snackable content, and that's all through just brainstorming with ChatGPT.
Very cool.
Can I just ask you a question?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ken.
Do you use, because you hear you saying about ChatGPT wasn't using your voice. You aware of in ChatGPT custom instructions? You've seen that? If I share, I'll quickly show you where that is. Because custom instructions, if you click on where your account is and your name, and then let me go up to there. Custom instructions this is where you can give it to train your voice in terms of what would it like to know about you. And this is because because we do it for so many different, we have to change what our custom instructions show each time. But if you're doing it just for yourself, then here is where you can program it so that I'll show you where it is. If you click
so
on
that came out after we did the challenge. So we completed
because this is new now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Because this we found really useful for our clients when we actually craft for them a custom instruction with how it should respond, and what to provide better responses, so that when they are using ChatGPT for themselves, they get better results, and it uses their voice, because we create a custom instruction for our clients. But that's a great, this is new, again, it's always changing, and this makes it far easier for so things that you would normally have to repeat a lot of times, of how ChatGPT responds. You can make a custom instruction for it and enable it for all your new chats, so that it will use this context when generating any content. But that's
so
a
it
new
will
feature.
sound like Liberty.
Yeah, so you can get it to you can program it to sound to have your voice by you putting it by you customizing that part of it. But
Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Thank you, Ken, for sharing that, and thank you, Liberty, for sharing what you have shared. We have a question from Mr. Clark Lopez Waterman, and his question is, what about AI is scary to you? And we're going to start with Liberty.
Ooh, I would say the diversity aspect of things. So towards the end of it, so an interesting thing, like when we were doing the challenge, it was almost smack dab in the middle of the holidays. And I also recognized, because I've seen other people similarly do the challenge and talking about burnout, and I'm like, this thing is not going to crush me, so I'm going to make sure that I take breaks. And we started, and then we were looking at, oh, what tools that we can use to do to like have an AI avatar actually. So we started to use avatars towards the end that would kind of simulate or represent me. And when we were actually trying to look at creating the avatars, it was just so far with how, like, hair being one of those big things when it comes to creating avatars of black people, and the styles and things like that. So I'm concerned that if we don't have enough people of color, enough women involved in putting content out there, providing feedback, because when you do use these tools, they're being trained, right? They're learning models, they're learning us as a human race. And if we don't have enough diverse people using the tool, then it's going to give back information like data in, data out. So if we don't have enough diverse data going in, then what's being put out, and we have a generation that's coming up that this is what they're looking at as real and as truth. And if it's not really reflecting the people that are out there, that those are things that highly concern me.
Thank you so much for that, Ken.
For me, the scary part is the speed of scary and enjoyable part is the speed of change that is happening here with not just large language models like ChatGPT, but with the text to image, text to video. Literally every day there are 5, 10 new things are coming out, new improvements. Speed of the speed of change that artificial intelligence is bringing um, is really good. Um, the That's the scary part. The we use Midjourney for image generation, and the latest improvements with Midjourney, when we go back and look back at the previous model of what it produced and what it can now produce, it's scary how quick the quality of the images that it produces. For one client, we were making, well, first we did a test where we generated a totally artificial person, made an Instagram account. We were testing the Instagram algorithm basically on speed of how quickly the kind of growth. And we made a person with well, artificial person because she didn't really exist, but her avatar was all generated with Midjourney. She was a makeup artist, and we were showing all her work with models and stuff, all 100% generated from Midjourney with ChatGPT descriptions and response to see what was working. But what we produced, I think it's about 2, 3 months ago now, when we look at the images that it produced then to what we can now produce now, it's, you're not going to tell. I'm a photographer. I used to be a photographer. I love photography. And, seeing, being able to see, oh yeah, that's a Midjourney or AI generated photo. I couldn't tell. That's a scary part.
Wow.
There is no, I can't tell. And I have, I've done photography all my life, so I know what to look for.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
Impossible to
amazing.
tell now, what comes
Wow.
out. So that's the scary part of it, but it's also fascinating part.
So I'm going to ask another question. Um, do you think AI will gain consciousness? And either one of you want to respond to that?
It depends on how the problem with that is, how are you defining consciousness? Because this is a common kind of question or scare for that people. It's one how you define consciousness to know how you can measure that. The the there's kind of our tests that they're running to kind of show on whether it's conscious or not, but those tests have been re-looked at and re-examined, and the scores that the AI, this is the scary part. The um, the scoring was showing it, that it was quite a way away, quite off from being conscious in one of the forms that it had defined of what was conscious. But when they re-examined, and this was only literally a few days ago, were re-examining the questions that they were giving to the large language models to answer to see whether it was conscious or not. A lot of the answers of those questions, because they pulled there's something like 28,000 questions are used. When they started examining some of those questions which were pulled from the web, they actually didn't pull the full question correctly. So it was impossible for it to give a correct answer. So its score ranking being relatively low for some things was only because the actual questions weren't actually right. So yeah, it all depends on how you define consciousness. It can act as if it is, depending on because how you um,
Prompted.
how you prompt it. So
Yeah.
it's really dependent on your definition. What is your test for consciousness that you would give to someone to put in to show that they're conscious? But that's really what it comes down to. How are you defining it? Because if you can define it, then you can program it. So that's
Wow.
my answer.
That's amazing. Liberty, did you want to add anything?
Not at all. Like for me, that's I'm like, my answer is no. I like how Ken packaged it though, of like it being based on the definition. So
Okay. All right. We have a question from Laura Thompson of Beaumont, Texas. Her question is, how is AI doing with accessibility? Is it really as good as a human? For example, Userway.
Userway, and I think I'm going to do a quick Google. When I think of, I am still growing in accessibility, in just understanding that space even more. A lot of the work we've done in the past has been through captioning, through which I think that they're doing a great job, especially with some of the, again, mentioning tools like Descript or even Adobe captioning and those tools that are out there to help to, but that's only one aspect of accessibility. So I give it a score of, they're working on it. They recognize that it is an important area, whether you are special enabled or your everyday person and just needing to access content and tools in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
The,
so, go ahead, Ken.
yeah. So um, for our work in terms of building accessible websites, it has been a boon. It's been brilliant for us. Just to give one of the examples, there's website called, and this is free, alttextgenerator.net. With this tool, it produces great alt text descriptions for images. It's one of the key areas that a lot of people are going to fall down on, because of, they put images up, but without a good text description. You can now use AI to generate those for you. So you can put a picture in and it can give you a really good description. So that's one area that's so even for everyone now, there is not an excuse now. If you've got a website and you've got images on your website, having really good defined alt text is now free. There's a free tool um, we can get AI to read those images and come up with an alt description. So just that by itself is a great but yeah, for accessibility, we've found that using the machine learning tools have been have made it much easier for us to make our websites more accessible.
Thank you, Ken, for that. And this is the actual website that Laura was referencing. It's called Userway Web Accessibility Solved. And it says comply with ADA law and confirm with WCAG 2.1 and 2.2 guidelines at every step of your web accessibility journey. Join over 1 million websites and millions of users with disability who trust Userway for their digital accessibility needs. So it's very cool. Take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm aware of the site. I'm aware of what they're doing. They might be better, but my issue with them is the costing that they're charging for it. Um, Making your website more accessible isn't, isn't what the way that they're doing, and the high price that they're charging for it are kind of making people put off from making their sites accessible. There are lots of free tools and free solutions out there to make your website accessible. You have to be um, um, there isn't kind of this one click solution that people have to pay for doing it. I think
Ken,
it should be built in.
can can you share some ways in which people who are watching and listening can connect with you so that if they wanted to utilize some of those free support for accessibilities
Yeah,
that
I can um let me yeah, I'll what I'll do is produce, because I said some of um the prompts that we're using and some of the tools that we have. I'll put together a little like crib sheet for you on how, if you're building a website, how you can, by using some of these free tools, you can check and make your website more accessible. So yeah, let me get back to you with that, Tony, and I'll produce something for you.
thank you. And Laura is going to keep us honest about that, Ken. So
Mhm.
we don't have to worry. Laura will make sure that we put that together. So we have a question again from Mr. Clark Lopez Waterman, and his question is, how has AI affected conversations with Tony Mobley?
Well, I'll jump into that. It's going to have a big effect on that, because I'll be working with Tony on this, on the website to optimize it. So the learnings that we've done, and the tests that I've done on some of the videos, basically what we want to do is to have every one of your interviews have their own landing page with a full transcription of that interview so that that's searchable, but also a landing page where we optimize the content from those videos, looking for what's currently trending in what people are searching for in keywords, building a landing page that addresses that with and so to generate more traffic, which will generate hopefully more donations, because the goal, the call to action at the bottom of those landing pages is the donation. So and before normally, let's say 6 months ago, this would have been time consuming and expensive to do. With the way that we have crafted prompts, um, this is something that it's a um, it's an exercise now where you don't need to be, an SEO expert, have years of experience in doing this, because if you just follow the prompt, follow the instructions it will give, and you can do that in a matter of, a few weeks rather than a few months that something like that would have taken that task would have taken to do. So yeah, we will have to see over the next few weeks where the transformation, where we will using the prompts that we have generated and using Tony's website as a test case, you'll see um, how we can generate more relevant traffic to the website.
Wow.
That's what we're going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, so much for
problem.
that. And I hope the audience who's listening is hearing what he is saying, because he says what used to take months can be done in a couple of weeks. So that's amazing. We have a comment from Mr. Guy Cochran, and it says, "Love it. Thanks for all the tips." Thank you, Guy, supporter of the show. Appreciate that. You're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know? We're going to start with Kenn Jordan.
Okay, this will be different from the last one. This is don't be, as with the topic of this discussion is about AI. Don't be scared of AI. It's not. It's just a tool that will, if you are an expert in your subject, an expert in your field, using these AI tools will supercharge your your knowledge and your skill set. So that's the way to think about it. It's you still need that knowledge, expert knowledge, because you need to double check that what is being generated is actually correct, and that it's not hallucinating. But with clever prompting, and you knowing your field, so knowing what areas that you want to target, using machine learning can really supercharge you. And hopefully this will kind of inspire you to do that. And if I come back on Tony's show where we can show some more examples of how that can be done, then
Just
that's really
win,
my
Ken.
message.
It's just win. It's just win. It's not if.
Cool.
It's win.
All right. Well, then we'll be back. I'll be back, and we'll dive deep into other examples of on how using machine learning, using these AI tools, you can you can really enhance either your website or whatever, or your business.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Miss Liberty White.
Yeah, I was gonna say similarly to, what Ken said of like, your role best. Again, going back to that, social media experiment that we did, like I have an idea of what kind of content would work. I have an idea of what my audience would like to hear, but here's this tool that is objective and not looking, not there's no emotion tied to it or anything like that. So you've got this objective tool that you can use, that you can like throw things at and see what it comes up with. And so just that idea. But then there was this other thought of, thinking about for those who, your first day of school, and it can be scary because especially if you're going to a new school, it's a new teacher, all this new stuff. But once you like take a step in and find, like, if you like to read books, then you navigate to the book corner, or if you like to do art, you navigate to the paint center. And if you can find something within the space, because AI is still very, in correction, let's say generative AI is still very new, that even the people who are quote unquote experts, they're still learning. So if there's ever a time to be a part of this community of learning, it's now, because 6 months from now, a year from now, it's going to be so much different. So there's no better time than the present to just dip your toe in the water and test it out and find what works for you?
I want to say thank you both so much for being on with me. We've been off the air for a couple of months, actually. And for those who are listening, I had a health journey that I was going through, and I'm still going through it. But there is good news in that I am getting better every day, and every day is better than the day before. So I want to say thank you to everyone so much for their support and the prayers that they have reached out and in support of me. So with that, we're going to say thank you all so much for being with us today. We want to, of course, thank this new iteration of Conversation with Tony Mobley, Mimo Live, powered by Mimo Live Boink software based in Germany. And so we want you to stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations with Tony Mobley coming soon. And also, we're going to let you know that we are going to have some featured guest hosts for Conversation with Tony Mobley in the future. But Tony Mobley will be here as much as he can. We want to thank everyone for the 100 plus episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. And when you have time, we ask that you go back and look at the 100 plus episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. And we think you will find something that you like, and hopefully it is helpful. Thank you, Ken and Liberty, for being a part of this conversation today and for doing the work that you do and doing and being the persons who you are. Conversation with Tony Mobley will return soon with new episodes. So we need you to stay tuned to YouTube and the Conversation with Tony Mobley website. And so we're going to say at this time, good night, take care, God bless. I hope to see you soon.